Okay, hey everyone. So back to day 4, or we're on to day 4 here. So what we want to talk about here, or what we spoke about on this particular day, is around DevOps and Agile. So you might have heard these in passing around different methodologies. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into that, and I'm going to try and remember what I actually wrote here and what I picked up, and then we'll have a thought on that. And then I think there's maybe 2 more days of this DevOps big picture type talk track, and then we get into the programming language. So at that point, bearing in mind this was 2 years ago that I wrote this, I want to go through some of the hands-on scenarios, the big picture, but also the hands-on scenarios, and get to grips with some of the areas. So, okay, DevOps and Agile. Do you know the difference between DevOps and Agile? Well, hopefully we're going to find out here. They were formed as standalone concepts. Principles, processes, yeah, all good. But now the two terms are getting fused. In this post, we'll examine the crucial differences between Agile and DevOps and find out why the two are connected so tightly. I think a good place to start is understanding a little more about a common angle I've seen in learning this area, and that is DevOps versus Agile. Even though they have similar goals and processes, in this section, I'm going to summarize this, hopefully. I think that's an interesting point to touch on, and I don't know if this spoils what I wrote, but there's a lot of verses, regardless of what area you're researching. If you're searching virtual machines and containers, the first thing, in fact, if we go and do a search for virtualization and containers, everything comes up as a versus. Versus. Everything's got to be against each other. And I've had an argument, and you can tell that this is a bugbear of mine, is that this is never a versus. This is always an and. Whether it's a cloud-based virtual machine, whether it's containers, and I hate the fact that this DevOps versus Agile, that's not a thing. Let's take the best of all the worlds and make them, or choose the right process for the right job, is kind of my part. So let's start with the definitions. I'll get off the high horse at that point. So Agile development. So Agile is an approach that focuses on delivering small results faster rather than releasing one big interaction of the product. Software is developed in iterations. The team releases a new version every week or month with incremental updates. The final goal of Agile is to deliver an optimal experience to the end users. DevOps, definition of DevOps. We've been covering this for the past few days with a few different ways of describing the end goals of DevOps. But DevOps usually describes software development and delivery practices based on cooperation between software developers and operations specialists. The main DevOps benefits are delivering a simplified development process and minimizing miscommunication. Okay, you can see how they're not the same, but you can see how they could both benefit from each other. Okay, so what's the difference between Agile and DevOps? The difference is mainly the preoccupations. Agile and DevOps have different preoccupations, but they are helping each other. Agile wants short iteration, which is only possible with the automation that DevOps brings. Agile wants the customer to try a specific version and quickly give feedback, which is only possible if DevOps makes the creation of a new environment easily. Different participants. Agile focuses on optimizing communication between end users and developers, while DevOps targets developers and operation team members. We could say that Agile is outward orientated towards customers, whereas DevOps is a set of internal practices. Fair? Team. Agile usually applies to software developers and project managers, maybe even product managers as well. The competencies of DevOps engineers lie in the intersection of development, QA, and operations, as they are involved in all stages of the product cycle and are part of the Agile team. Interested to hear, do we even have the concept of an Agile team? I hear of, and I speak to a lot of DevOps teams as well, but I don't think we actually speak to the Agile team. I think this is probably the way in which, like we hear about platform engineering today, probably the better terminology for a team that adopts DevOps process and principles. But is there an Agile team? I don't believe that is. I believe that a development team, an engineering team, would adopt Agile principles and processes around that. Okay, so applied frameworks. But let us know in the comments if that is applicable. I don't think it is. Agile has a lot of management frameworks to achieve flexibility and transparency. Scrum to Kanban to Lean, Extreme, Crystal, Dynamic, feature-driven. DevOps focuses on the development approach in collaboration but doesn't offer specific methodologies. However, DevOps promotes practices like infrastructure as code, architecture as code, monitoring, self-healing, end-to-end test automation. But per se, this is not a framework, but rather a practice. Okay, fair point. Historic me is, I keep saying about principles and processes from a DevOps point of view, but actually, yeah, there's a lot of practice that goes into this as well. Practice is in how we're going to attack something. Feedback. In Agile, the main source of feedback is the end user, while in DevOps, the feedback from stakeholders and the team itself has a higher priority. Target areas. Agile focuses more on software development than deployment and maintenance. Fair. DevOps focuses on software development as well, but its values and tools also cover deployment and post-release stages like monitoring, high availability, security, and data protection. I'd also say end user feedback, and then that whips around into that infinite loop that I know we're going to cover in the next day. Documentation. Agile prioritizes flexibility and tasks at hand over documentation and monitoring. DevOps, on the other hand, regards project documentation as one of the essential project components. So Agile is about potentially just getting the important features into the product, whereas DevOps is more mindful around, well, for us to release anything, people need to know how to play the game. Risks. Agile risks derive from the flexibility of the methodology. Agile projects are difficult to predict or evaluate as priorities and requirements are continually changing. Makes sense, right? We're releasing code. We're going to have some sort of schedule around some of those issues and features, but some of those bugs, features, add-ons, enhancements are all going to get pushed out if something else bigger comes in. DevOps risks derive from a misunderstanding of the term and the lack of suitable tools. Some people see DevOps as a collection of software for the deployment and continuous integration, failing to change the underlying structure of the development process. The tools used. Agile tools are focused on management, communication, collaboration, metrics, and feedback processing. Okay, to be fair, I mentioned this, but in regards to DevOps. The most popular Agile tools include Jira, Trello, Slack, Zoom, SurveyMonkey, and others. Side note on that, who's using something different? Let me know. And what happens if something bad happens to that? How do you protect it? Had a lot of conversations recently about, can you help us protect our Jira tickets, our Jira platform? We have no native backup within Jira. And that's just a side hustle, side question that I'm interested in. There's some SaaS-based tools out there that can do it. I'm just interested, given my day job. DevOps uses tools for team communication, software development, deployment, and integration like Jenkins, GitHub Actions, Bitbucket, etc. Even though Agile and DevOps have slightly different focuses and scopes, the key values are almost identical. Therefore, you can combine the two. Okay. Let's bring it all together there, because you can see, if you think about Agile as a process or as a way of delivering software, but then you think about DevOps as a way of being able to enhance the deployment and the delivery of that application development, then let's bring it all together. And I might have just ruined everything I've just written. The combination of Agile and DevOps brings the following benefits you will get. Brings the following benefits you will get. That doesn't sound right. Maybe that's a fix for later. Flexible management and powerful technology. Agile practices help Agile practices help DevOps teams to communicate their priorities more efficiently. The automation cost that you have to pay for your DevOps practices is justified by your Agile requirement of deploying quickly and frequently. It leads to strengthening the team. Adopting Agile practices will improve collaboration, increase the team's motivation, and decrease employee turnover rates. As a result, you get better product quality. Okay, everyone is striving for that. Some bad grammar going on in there though that we need to fix later on down the line. Or if anyone else wants to jump in, feel free to raise a nice community PR. Agile allows coming back to the previous product development stages to fix errors and prevent the accumulation of technical debt. To adopt Agile and DevOps simultaneously, just follow 7 steps. Just follow. Easy. Unite the development and operations teams. Cool. Create, build and run teams. All development and operational concerns are discussed by the entire DevOps team. DevOps team could just be the operations team, or the some devs that have some infrastructure knowledge. We've done that before. I'm not going to go into that opening that world again. Change your approach to sprint and assign priority ratings to offer DevOps tasks that have the same value as development tasks. Encourage development and operations teams to exchange their opinion on other teams' workflow and possible issues. Be very open, and constructive feedback is going to help there. I've spoken, like mentioning, around DevOps or platform teams where they've tried to do a dedicated team and they've tried to work as that go-between, but ended up actually being more of a burden on the software development side of things as well as the operation. So it actually ends up being the job of everyone's to adopt DevOps principles and processes in an agile methodology. So include QA in all development stages, choose up the right tools, automate everything you can. I think that's fair. Measure and control by using tangible numeric deliverables. And just number 6, I always say this a lot, especially to infrastructure people that maybe have just been doing the same thing for years and years and years. They've just been managing their vSphere environment. They're at a school, for example, and they don't need to automate, or they don't see the benefit in automating everything. Everything's running, everything's perfect, backups are running every night, everything is being patched and updated as they've always done. It was my challenge to some of those conversations is think about how you could automate some of those tasks or tasks, automate it away from your daily, because then that will free you up to do something else and enhance what you're doing. Because if you're using technology that you put in 6 years ago, and okay, yeah, great, you're doing the security and the vulnerability and the updates and all of that good stuff, but how and when are you going to go, we need to go somewhere else? And that generally is going to be a massive forklift change, and you're going to be behind again. So the whole point of let's automate things away so that you can spend time researching the art of the possible and what you don't know. I think that's a massive important thing to think about. So what do you think? Do you have different views? I want to hear from developers, ops, QA, or anyone basically watching these videos if they're useful. I know I'm trying to keep them as short and concise as we possibly can. I know we're up to about 15 minutes now, so it's a good time. Let me know though, do they need to be shorter, longer? Do you want a bit more opinion? Do you want to hear from other people? It doesn't have to just be me reading this stuff out. And then obviously I've left some resources there. Only 3 on this one, don't know why. If you've got other resources that back this up or an opposing thought perspective, I'm all in for that as well. So with that closes out day 4. Let me jump straight into day 5, but you'll see it as a different video. So thanks for watching.